Hey, yo, what's going on, friends? Welcome back to a brand new episode. We'll call this 40.75 of our ridiculously themed numbered system. It's In Madness Pod. I'm Shawn the Butcher. I'm here with Vertebrae33. What's going on?
Good evening, Shawn.
Don't
Sorry, I'm
start.
getting in the theme
Don't
already. How
start.
you
I'll
doing?
get right into it. You want to get into the next episode? We'll hop right into it. This is the premiere podcast, In Madness Pod. We are on the socials at In Madness Pod. You can email us. You can send us emails or send us a voice note. I think right now, sitting in the In Madness mail sack is one email and one voice note that we need to check out on our next episode. I'm looking forward to checking that one out. You can also see us right now on YouTube with our very special guest. Make sure you like and subscribe and comment. Give us the 5-star reviews. Check out the In Madness Spotify playlist, which has grown to 8.5 hours long, featuring music from the Dillinger Escape Plan, Whitney Houston, and very soon Fit for an Autopsy. Such a sick playlist. You could put it on at work and never hear the same song twice. Happy In Madness Monday. If that's when you're listening, spread the madness. Tell everybody you know about this show, and you too can represent. Get yourself a shirt, inmadness.com. Also get yourself a mug. Shout outs to Vertebrae for hooking up the In Madness mugs. Oh, he's got one right now. Cool. Pick that up at inmadness.com. And now we see what mug Vertebrae has. You can check that out on YouTube. And we are joined this week by another very special guest. My man, I guess we'll call it, is a streamer.
Yeah. You know,
a biker.
Yeah.
I guess leather worker.
Yep, that also fits too.
A horror movie fanatic.
Very much so an enthusiast.
He also has his own sandwich, much like myself, at Mission Sandwich in Brooklyn, New York. And he is the guitar player for one of my favorite bands, Fit for an Autopsy. Tim Howley, my man.
Hey, thanks for having me on, guys.
Long Island, New York's own Tim Howley.
Yeah, not for long, but you know, I'm here for long.
Yeah. So I seen you were just you were just in like Ireland or where were you?
No, your boy got married. I was in Scotland.
Scotland, yes.
Scotland, yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you, man. Wife's from Scotland, so I'm very, very, very stoked on that.
It looked incredible out there. Some of the pictures you were posting. Was that your first time out there?
No. I mean, I've played Scotland a dozen or more times, and now with us being together for the last couple of years and whatnot, and I've been over to visit in between tours and stuff like that. So, that was probably for recreation and stuff like that. That was probably like my 6th or 7th time over.
Sick. Yeah. I mean, Tim is a very, very busy dude. As long as I've ever known you, you have been working or touring or doing something. So let's get into the streaming thing first, because immediately you're like, what do I need? Audio, video. How does this work? I'm like, microphone. Just have a microphone. And you're like, dude, I got the whole streaming setup. I do the YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
Do you do like a guitar channel? What do you do through that?
So we'll start at the beginning, right? Yeah. So back in the day, Matt from Trivium, around 2018, shout out to Matt, one of the best dudes that we've ever toured with, period. Matt turned around and was like, man, why aren't you guys streaming? Why aren't you guys on Twitch doing this and that? Now, I always thought that Twitch was just a gaming platform, and I didn't know that there were other aspects to it. So around early 2018, I started streaming. Late 2017, early 2018, started streaming, and it snowballed real fast. It was awesome. I did that for about 2 years, and then COVID hit, and because everybody was home, my internet just tanked. So I just stopped, and I started picking up, I was doing leather for 10 years prior to that. So I really got heavy with the leather, and I got a regular job and so on and so forth. So I kind of left the streaming thing to the side, but I still had, all of the gear. I still had my camera, my laptop, or, my computer that I used, my microphone, my boom arms, all this other wild stuff. So as far as content creation goes, I still have everything, and now I'm doing more YouTube videos and stuff like that. I feel like that is more my bag than actual streaming on Twitch.
So what are you doing on YouTube?
Just guitar stuff.
Guitar stuff,
Realistic. Yeah, I mean, I have an obnoxious amount of guitars.
The pictures you post on your, so make sure you follow Tim Howley on Instagram, because I mean, you and Pat, you guys have the gnarliest guitars in metal.
Pat's got some crazy stuff, man. There's stuff that he doesn't even break out that's just been sitting in the closet for 10 years, 15 years. But yeah, like unfortunately, a lot of the stuff that I have, I can't necessarily play live. Because a lot of it's just old 80s 6 strings and stuff like that. So I just pop it up on Instagram or YouTube and stuff like that. I have kind of like a little series that I'm doing now called Tim's Vault, where I just break out another guitar and just tell the story behind it.
Hell yeah. Yeah. And that's awesome for like the guitar nerds, and for it's cool for like everybody to check out. If you're a fan of guitars, if you're a fan of Fit for an Autopsy, if you're a fan of anything, whether it's leather or bikes, make sure you check out Tim Howley's YouTube channel. Yeah. I mean, I've never Twitched before. I know Matt Hafey is like huge with that. They Twitch everything of Trivium, all their live shows, and all their practices and his warm-ups. Yeah, that's not a world I've ever dipped into before. I will say it is cool, but it's strenuous, man, and a lot of people don't understand the thing is about Twitch is that you have to be consistent. A lot of people don't fully get that. They're like, oh, I'll stream when I can, and you can't necessarily do that, right? When okay, say for example, I always talk, it's funny that we bring this up, but I always talk about like everybody knows Monday Night Raw. Everybody knows that it's on Monday nights, and most of the time when I was a kid, it was 9 p.m. Then it switched to 8 p.m. It was always on Monday nights, same channel, same time for 20 years, 25 years, something like that. So you always know when it's going to be on. It's the same thing with America's Funniest Home Videos. It's going to be on Sunday nights, so on and so forth. It just, that's when it is, Whereas with a Twitch channel, you have to do the same thing. If you're going to stream at, say 9 o'clock in the morning every single day, you're going to build that following. Eventually you can switch, but it's going to be kind of hard to get all of your fan base and your fans to switch to a new time, because a lot of them, are just used to that. So they just stop following, It's so funny you bring this up, because you're talking to us about Twitch, but what you're literally talking to us about is this podcast, because it's everything me and Vertebrae have been building for the last 2 years. We originally started as bi-weekly, and then we're like, no, it cannot be bi-weekly. We need to make it weekly, and every single Monday, which is the crappiest day of the week, we make In Madness Monday. So people wake up and they're like, ugh, I gotta go to work, I gotta deal with the week, but now they see they have a brand spanking ass new episode of In Madness every Monday, unless me and Vertebrae are at the same show and get the ick, and then we both got the flu at the same time, and then we can't do the show.
Yeah, we just shout outs to Lost Becomes for getting us sick at
spreading the ick.
Oh no,
that was the only episode we never. That was the only time we haven't dropped something on a Monday.
Was that the one back in January?
Yeah, very recently. And then everybody, whatever was going around, and me and Vertebrae caught it at the same time. And I'm like, I guess we're not dropping a new episode this week.
No, I'm hallucinating, so we're not dropping. I mean, it might have been an interesting episode, but
which is how you came up with the. That's how you came up with the mug idea, I think, while you were hallucinating.
Yes, and a couple other shirt ideas that I haven't even told you yet. I still have to work through some of these dreams that I wrote down after I woke up. You're all sweaty, and just type them into your phone and email them to myself. But I'm also jealous of Tim's setup, Shawn. I got to get a mic like that. Look at that mic. It's like dropping out of the sky. I love
this. This is a blue Spark. I think it's called a Spark. I also have like Rode Procasters and stuff like that. Like I have a bunch of different mics. I do like how this mic sounds. But yeah, the boom and the
it's awesome. Very cool.
Try and be as pro as possible.
Tell me about you being a biker. You're always posting, you're always on a motorcycle, you're always doing these, I don't know, like rallies or whatever. You got a crew. Tell me about the biker life.
Well, I don't like calling them rallies because then
whatever.
Grouped,
like gatherings
into other rallies.
No, we
don't like that. No, so my dad got me into bikes when I was a little bit younger, and like when I was a kid I was always into it, but I never fully got into it until I was like 19, 20 years old. Like all throughout my teens I was just into music and that's what I wanted to do. And then I got to be like, I don't know, I was like 21, 22 and or I was like 19, 20, and my dad turned around and he was just like, he's working on his bike out back of our house. And I'm looking at it and I'm staring and I'm staring. I'm like, man, this thing's kind of cool. He's like, yo, just sit on it. So I throw my leg over and he starts it up and kind of sitting there on this, old 80s shovel head. And I was just like, this is cool. This is rad. And he's like, I told you. And that it's just started an absolute downward spiral. I've been riding for 15, 16, 17 years, whatever, and I've had a dozen or more motorcycles. I think I have like 6 right now, 7. It's obnoxious, but
that is so cool.
It's fun, man. Like, I don't know, it's hard to describe. It's like when you build something yourself, when you're actually it's like being a kid, like you have an erector set or a Lego set or something like that. But like, imagine being able to take that Lego set, put it together yourself, and then get on it and ride cross country. It's pretty cool.
That's some that's some real deal shit right there. Yeah, I mean, mainly because myself and I'm sure Vertebrae were just so completely inexperienced at anything involving like putting things together or taking them apart.
No, I'm good at like building stuff on the house, but actually like my father owned motorcycles, so I was around them my whole life, and I unfortunately just probably it upset him, but I didn't really get into it. But
sometimes it's not your thing.
But when I was a kid, a couple times we'd go camping on and we would pack everything, so I would be squeezed between him and the back of the bike and all the camping gear. And I would doze off even because I'm just wedged in there, like I can't go anywhere. My own pegs, like he'd put my own pegs on the side, so like I wouldn't I could put my legs up or whatever, and we'd go to Vermont and go camping. So he rides motorcycles and he plays guitar, and I was lousy at both of those things, but hey, that's what I draw things. But I draw things, that's fine.
But that's I will say this, there's like there's an artistic side to every hobby, right? And it's kind of cool because you have guys that are artists or graphic designers or stuff like that. They appreciate the art behind certain motorcycles because they're like, oh, you're instead of using oil and canvas, you're using steel.
Mm-hmm.
And you're shaping this in a way that it's just like, don't get me wrong, like the stuff in the early 2000s, like the big like art, like the pointed fenders, not my thing at all. I can appreciate it because the amount of time and effort that goes into it is absolutely insane. But nowadays you get these guys that are just mechanical wizards, and their art per se is just the fact that, I don't know, when you turn your throttle, it engages a gear, and this gear goes to this gear, and that gear pulls a cable, and that cable pulls another gear. And like, it's this overly complex thing that you never think to do, but these guys somehow they create these wild machines. It's awesome.
And you ride cross country, you said?
Yeah, well, I've never ridden East Coast to West Coast yet. I've done, New York down south. I've done, New York out to Sturgis to New Hampshire back to New York. And like, I've ridden all around the country. But I've never done like a coast to coast. That's on my bucket list for sure.
So what's the longest you've ever been out on your bike for? Like for one straight run?
Oh man. So like, when I rode back from Sturgis in 22, my dad's aunt had passed away, and I had to ride from Sturgis to New Hampshire and I made that in like just under 2 days.
Oh,
so like I think it's like 1,900 miles, or no, yeah, it's like 1,900 miles.
And you're going through like rain or whatever. It doesn't matter.
Dude.
You're just
yeah, you're dealing with I mean, the worst ride that I've ever dealt with was I did New York to Atlanta, and I was riding down, and as I was riding down, every mile the storm would hit. So like the storm was angled, so it just as I went down, the storm just rolled straight through, and it was like 5-6 hours of consecutive rain.
Brutal.
Wow. It was terrible. It was terrible, dude.
That's crazy. You know, one time I was, we did a camping trip and I'm on the back of the bike and we're somewhere like on the side of a mountain, maybe we're in Virginia or whatever. And the back tire blows out on the bike. And so my dad gets it over to the side and he's like white as a sheet. And I'm like a young kid. So I'm just talking a mile a minute. And he was basically like, give me a second. And there's nobody around. There's nothing around. So he's got to take the tire off. And he was basically like, all right, the hatchet's in the saddlebag. You stay here with the bike, and I'm going to walk up this road and see how close this house and see how close the nearest town is to get the tire fixed. And he just walked, and so I think the guy ended up giving him a ride, and he came back. But I remember I was just standing next to the bike, like trying to act tough on the side of the road because you know anybody could have come along and just taken the bike, basically. But
yeah, that's true. Yeah, that stuff, like the cool part about riding motorcycles, especially when you're riding long distances with other guys and doing road trips, like, you know, the camaraderie between that, it's kind of like, you know, touring in a band. It's the same thing. Like, you're all out on the road, you're all sharing these experiences, you're doing the same thing. And you know, it's funny when, you know, something like that happens, because, you know, they always say it's not about the destination, it's about the journey and all that stuff. But like, those are those funny times where you break down and you're sitting on the side of the road with 5 guys and you're shooting the shit and you're like, okay, well, we got to, you know, slap this thing together and figure it out. You know, I mean, dude, I had a carburetor fall off on my way home from New York City one time. And I literally had to walk 1.5 miles, grab hose tape from a gas station, walk back, tape the manifold together to where the carburetor would stay on the you know, on the motor. It's just ridiculous. But I mean, those are those things where, like, you know, you either fix it or you call somebody to pick you up. And
nobody wants to do that. Yeah,
bro, when it's 2:00 in the morning, I'm not calling my dad. There's no way. He would just yell at me and tell me to fix it. He would just be like, I'm not coming.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not, you know, I broke down in Franklin Square. He's not going to drive from Amityville to Franklin Square at 2:00 in the morning to pick me up on the bike when it's just us. Like, he's just like, dude, he's like, find tape, fix it. And somehow I did.
Always walk around with a satchel with some tape in it. You'll be good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Depending on the bike that I have, depending on the bike that I'm on, I got tools.
Sick. So does this goes hand in hand with the leather work you do? South Shore Leatherworks. Shout outs to South Shore Leatherworks. Is this like you're the CEO? You started it? Is this your own baby, or?
Yeah, it was kind of funny. So during COVID, I started it with, you know, an ex-girlfriend of mine, and we were like, fuck it, like, let's just do some leather work and stuff like that. And we were gonna cater to, like, you know, kind of like Long Island's like yuppie fucking, you know, beach goers and stuff like that. And like, you know, we made cool shit, you know, like I you know, I made these wallets, and, you know, I was doing all this like upscale shit, really nice stuff. And like, I can still make that stuff, but it wasn't really who I am, you know? And like, I don't know, like 6 months later, we ended up breaking up. She moved away, did all that stuff. And like, I didn't really fuck around with it. And then I was just like, man, like, I do all this leather work myself. Why am I not just taking the name and just running with it and doing all the custom stuff that I do, you know? So took the name, started running, doing all the custom stuff. And you know, dude, guitar straps, belts, wallets, holsters, like, I even do like wall art and stuff like that. And that's like one of the coolest things that I've ever done is this girl that I knew worked at Barclays Center, and they had the Black Keys come through, and they wanted to give them some weird, or not weird, but like they wanted to give them a unique gift. And corporate gifting's right up my alley. I'm like, all right, well, let me do my research and stuff like that. I found out that Dan Auerbach is into motorcycles. Like the dude's into vintage Harleys. So I carved out a knucklehead tank and like motor and stuff like that out of leather and framed it. Like that's the kind of stuff that I like. I love doing that stuff.
Do you make a bunch of stuff for like all your biker buddies and the
Oh yeah, like wallets, belts, like whatever they need. They know to hit me up. They're like, oh yeah, Tim makes all that stuff.
Is there a website, or you want people to just DM you for that?
No, that's just an Instagram thing. Like I have a website, but the website's all the old shit and stuff like that. And eventually I'll put stuff up, but I'm way more focused on the music, and like the leather's kind of cool. Like the studio that I have here on the island, I have all my leatherwork stuff, and basically in front of this computer and this space station that I have, I basically just put my leatherwork stuff. I have a little rolling cart and a rolling caddy that I have all my tools on, and I just kind of sit here, watch movies, and carve stuff out.
So you're moving off the island soon, huh?
Dude.
I mean, we don't have to get into it, but where you going? You going anywhere? Where you going?
I'm moving south.
Okay.
Moving south. The weather's nicer. The riding's a little bit nicer. Don't get me wrong. I still love the island. I still love New York, and I'll always love it up here. But, being married now, wanting to, expand the family and, go off and do my own thing, it's kind of hard to do that when houses, like fixer-upper houses, are in the mid 600,000s. Like,
yeah,
that's fucking crazy.
Correct.
So for me, I'm out.
I still hope we're going to be running into each other at Amityville.
Oh, dude, listen, you'll see me all the time. You got. I mean, MacArthur runs. They're doing $60 round trip flights from Charlotte to MacArthur now.
Oh yeah, MacArthur Airport. I haven't flown out of MacArthur. I haven't tried it yet. I have not.
Oh, dude, it's the easiest shit.
Yeah,
dude, I paid $120 round trip to go to Orlando from MacArthur.
That's what's up.
MacArthur's closer to my house than JFK.
Yeah.
There's like, I don't know, 12 gates.
Yeah.
There's one terminal.
Easy.
There's nothing. There's nothing, dude. You got one flight that goes out a day, to Orlando. That's it. And I'm like, all right, well, $120.
Let's go.
You want an extra $30 for a carry-on bag? Sure.
Whatever. Yeah. Yeah. I get that at the regular airport anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's just, it allows me to continue the career that I've set up for myself, and allows me to work the amount of work. Like, don't get me wrong, I could stay on Long Island, but I would be busting my ass every single day, day in, day out, night after night. And like, I love it. I enjoy it. But man, it's so much, dude.
It gets old really quick. Believe me. Yeah, I hear you, man. But I mean, I know the band is all over the place. I know Hosian is in like Puerto Rico, and like
lives down there.
Yeah, it's cool that you guys could be anywhere and still make it all come together. We'll get more into For An Autopsy in a second, though. I want to know, as a fellow sandwicher, first off, the Tim Howley sandwich. Shout outs to Chef Brian.
Dude,
shout out to Mission
Brian's
Sandwich in Brooklyn. What is on the Tim Howley sandwich? Do you know off the top of your head?
Oh, I 100% know. So, okay. So let's kick it off. Let's kick it off with how Brian got into it. Because Brian was originally going to start a sandwich business, then COVID hit.
Yes.
Right? So he's just like, man, what am I going to do during this time where I can't necessarily build my business? Right? And dude, he started doing the Sandwich Sundays on the YouTube, on his YouTube channel. And it kicked off. It kicked off real hard. And it was cool because he hit me up one day and he's like, what what are some of your favorite dishes of all time? What are some things that you like, that you don't like, so on and so forth. And, I always told him, I don't know if you had ever been to Beauty in Essex, when he was working there, but I went there one time and I had the Peruvian chicken. And the Peruvian chicken was one of the literally to this day, one of my favorite dishes of all time. It was perfect, literally a perfect dish. And, it's funny. He just turned around one day and he's just like, hey, I'm going to have you out. Like, I got a sandwich for you. I'm going to surprise you. And I showed up. We start filming and he's like, yo, I made that dish into a sandwich.
Oh.
And it just blew my mind. Absolutely blew my mind. And we ended up eating that sandwich. And like, I kid you not, if you go back and you watch that episode, that first bite, that knee-jerk reaction, true to form, absolute knee-jerk reaction. I hadn't tasted anything like that before. And when he finally gave it to me, I was just blown away. Absolutely blown away. I will say that original sandwich was something else, dude. Don't get me wrong. The one that's in the store now is it. It's close. It's not
that first time.
It's not that first one. That first one
it never is. We call that chasing the dragon in the business. Yeah.
Dude, the one that he made at his house, I'll never, I don't think I'll ever have something like that in my life. Dude, it's nuts. Because originally, like, it wasn't pepper jack originally. It was like a Peruvian cheese or something like that. It was way more spiced than the version now. The green cream sauce is still the same. That is top tier. That's top tier. Guacamole is the same. I will say, on that sandwich, I go light lettuce. I go light lettuce. But you know what's really funny? Not my favorite sandwich. I love it. I love it. The fact that it's named after me.
Do you have a favorite sandwich admission?
My favorite sandwich he discontinued.
Oh, wow. Which one was that?
Jake Bowen.
Oh, Jake. Shout out to Jake from Periphery.
The slaw with the roast beef and like the Russian dress. Dude, for some reason, that sandwich was just, it hit hard.
It's funny you bring that up because years ago, Chef Brian did a pop-up at St. Vitus, rest in peace, St. Vitus, Brooklyn, New York.
Yeah.
And he had like only 3 this was like in the beginning stages.
Yeah, we were there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we took a picture in front of the step and repeat there. Yeah. And I remember specifically going back twice for the Jake Bowen sandwich.
It was delicious. And I will say the Post Malone is one of my favorites as well.
Yes.
Summertime sandwich. I get it without the mustard, but dude, that sandwich, the nugget honey and the arugula and the Italian, dude, it is top tier, man. Top tier.
I'm a big fan of the Steve Byrne. If I'm not getting my own sandwich, I get
Steve Byrne is good.
That shit is delicious.
The Korean beef is insane.
To die for. It has been a 2-year-long running bit on In Madness to get myself and Vertebrae33 in the same room, so we can finally have a goddamn
sandwich. Has not happened, Sean. But
dude,
we had Chef Brian on. We had him on. We did the menu, which was really incredible to have him on, and we go through that movie with him. And
still haven't seen it.
Yeah,
great movie. Really great movie. And having somebody explain it to us that knows about it was amazing. The other thing, Sean, is Beauty in Essex Is that the place?
Yes,
We
that's
had
where we
the
had our infamous
ill-fated
dinner.
dinner?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All
We
right.
were with some guy who was like, Chris Santos is gonna come out and lick my toes, and he's gonna dance on the table, and then he's gonna give us all of our food for free, and da 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 da. And then like he got up
It
and
was a
left.
big group of us.
Yeah, the big
Yeah, it
group, and
was
then the dude just got up and left, and he's like, "I gotta go. My grandma's sick." And then like they left us like a $1,500 bill, and we're like,
yeah.
"Rock and roll, perfect."
Yeah,
Oh
we
my
all just had to split
God.
it. It got really depressing very fast.
We
It
That's
was
never,
us.
awful.
we call that one the dinner. We never
Yeah,
forget
that's
the
it
dinner.
was us. It
That's
was
rough.
a buddy of mine that works at Global Merch. It was the guys from Metal Injection, Metal Sucks, a guy from Rockabilia, and we were all there and just eating and drinking. And then all of a sudden he said he had to go. And then suddenly it was like, okay, well, they'll give you like a free dessert, I think
Free
maybe,
Sunday, yeah.
or something like that.
No, it
And
was
then
great.
the bill came and we were just like, no.
That picture
That's
pops up on
insane.
my Facebook memories all the time, and I
It's a
forward it
sad
right to
memory.
you, and I'm like, "Look, it's the
Yeah.
night that happened."
Well, I
That's
will get to Mission. I really got to get there because I just did co-branded merch with him. That's my art is selling in
Yeah,
his
Vertebrae has
store
got a
right
shirt there
now.
now.
But
Oh,
Hell
that's
yeah.
2
awesome.
shirts and a hat, and we still haven't got there. You still have my shirts, Sean? Do you
Yeah,
got them from
I'm
Chef
sitting here
Brian?
right now looking at them. Can you please get your shirts out of my goddamn sanctuary? I'm sick of looking at them.
Are
That's
they
too
right
funny.
there? Are they?
They're
Let me
right
see.
here. They're
Let me
right
see.
here. What?
Let's see. I
Hang
don't
on,
trust you.
hang on.
Yeah,
I don't.
we went to I went to Beauty in Essex twice. Brian worked there both times, and he took care of us real hard. Like,
Nice.
I went with an ex of mine, and then I went with 3-4 buddies of mine, and Brian,
He's the man.
took care. Yeah, Brian took care of us real well, and again, that's
Oh
one of my
yeah,
favorite
there it
places.
is. You do have it.
Oh, that's sick.
Hey, there
That's
it
awesome.
is.
And then there's this one too. I mean, I'm on the verge of stealing these.
Yeah, I know.
Once it's in my
Well,
house for over 2 months, it's mine forever.
Amen to
You know
that. Oh, that's sick. The Crypt Keeper.
yeah,
Check it
that's
out on
fun.
our YouTube. Check out Mission Sandwich. Yeah, I saw Tim Howley had a sandwich. I saw all my homies had sandwich. I'm like, what do I gotta do? What do I gotta do to get a fucking sandwich going? So
Love it.
me and Chef Brian and his band Lost Becomes, we were out late partying one night at AMH.
Oh
And
yeah.
I was just rubbing shoulders with the man, and I think he could like smell the just the aroma of want and need of having a sandwich on me, and he's like, "We got to make you a sandwich," and I'm like, "Yeah,
Dude,
let's do it, motherfucker."
It's funny. I kind of want to propose like a 2.0. I kind of want to propose like or something else, like be like, hey, like, it's been 2 years, good run for the Tim Howley. Let's see if this one works.
Yeah, revise
Nice.
it. Yeah,
Yeah, like don't get me wrong, there's some sandwiches that I get, around by me that would do justice at Mission. Trust that.
Hell yeah. If you're listening, make sure you check out Mission Sandwich in Brooklyn. Get yourself a Tim Howley sandwich. Get
Always.
yourself the Hail Shawn sandwich, one of the biggest sandwiches and heaviest sandwiches they have, and I take pride in that. I want to talk before we get to horror movies. Let's talk about the big event of the season. Shout out Fit for an Autopsy. Shout out
Ooh.
Joe Bad. Shout
Ooh.
out Will Putney. Shout out Pat. Shout out Blue Diamond Phillips. Shout out Hosian.
My
I think
guys.
that's everybody. And Tim
Oh
Howley.
yeah.
Fit
Yeah,
for an
there's a lot of
Autopsy.
us.
The new album, The Nothing That Is, came out last year. Fairly new
Yeah.
still to me. Dude has been touring all over the world. Just an incredible band. I have been listening to Fit for an Autopsy since before Tim was even a member, and Tim has been a member for how long have you been in that band now?
Dude, I joined my first show was June 2013.
Yeah.
So it's coming up on 12 full years, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah, yeah. I am a huge fan of this band. You guys are about to be hitting the road for a headlining tour, and I'm like, if we are going to be talking to Tim Howley, we had better organize it really quick because this dude is about to be out.
We're gonna be gone. We're gonna be gone for 3 months straight, basically.
And
it was almost 4. It was almost 4. We had plans to go through July, and we just. we were like, look, 3 months straight is going to be enough. Let's take off for July and figure something out at the end of the year.
Hell yeah. I mean, just tell for anybody listening, any fan, like, what is it like being in this incredible metal band for like the last 12 years for you?
Man, it's been such a learning experience. Seriously, and it's a constant learning experience because, you'll do something one time and it'll work. And then the next time you go to do it, it doesn't work, and, being in a band, especially nowadays where you have so many options and people get option paralysis, you have to keep your momentum up at all times. So, going out, doing a record and going out on tour, like, it's not enough. It's not enough anymore. Like, you used to be able to do that back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and even the early 2000s, you could be like, okay, cool, record, then tour, then record, then tour, then record, then tour. And it would work for a long time. But because there's so many options for people, you have to stay in front of everybody. You have to stay constant, especially with, like this, like doing a podcast or doing the guitar content, doing YouTube, doing all this other stuff, even not in the music world, doing it outside just to stay relevant. It's a hard one, man. But luckily, Fit has been, by the grace of whoever, has been on the rise for the past 12 years that I've been in the band. Like, there's, I don't know how. I've never seen it happen before, but like, there's never been a lull. Like, I'm so happy, like, knock on wood, man. We've just been on this wild ride together. And listen, there's ups and downs, but those downs are they're not around for a long time, which is awesome, and COVID, it's crazy. A lot of people will not like me saying this, but COVID was one of the best things that ever happened to Fit, because it just, we put out a song middle of COVID and it just hit hard. And post COVID, we just shot right up, and pretty stoked on it, man.
Well, all the highs and the lows. Tell me about the highs. What is one of the 12 years, one of the highest highs? Tim Howley, Fit for an Autopsy.
It's funny. Everybody thinks that the first thing you think of is like, oh, when, I was partying with so-and-so, or like, I was doing, like, everybody thinks about like those moments. But I think for Fit, the important moments for us and the highs that we've had is more so the reaction and the love that we get from the people that come out and see us, right? So last year, 6 months ago, we were doing our first ever VIP meet and greet. We've never done it before. It was never really our thing. But a couple people in the background were like, look, guys, if people don't want it, they won't pay for it. They won't buy it. They won't, buy those tickets. If they want it, trust me, they'll go for it. And we did it a little bit different. Everybody came in. We played 2 songs that weren't in the set.
Sick.
And then afterwards, we all went back and we did like a half hour, 45-minute Q&A with everybody. Just everybody raise your hands if you got a question. Let us know what you're thinking, so on and so forth. And then after that, we would just hang out for another 15, 20 minutes, sign stuff and take pictures and do all that stuff. But the people that we met on that tour that told us the stories about how Fit affected them and helped them along the way, and the connections that they had with the band, like, that's an all-time high for me. And I know that my guys feel the same way. And don't get me wrong, like, there's definitely like, there's certain situations where we're like, my band, me, like, that guy farts in his bunk all day, like, that dude's eating Skittles off the ground, like, and it's one of those things where, it just, the love that we get and the appreciation that we get and the ability that we have as musicians and as human beings to change lives and affect people in a positive way, that's my all-time high. And it sounds like, I know for a lot of dudes, like, you know, they're gonna be like, that's corny, that's bullshit, like, I want to hear the time about you partying with that. Listen, that stuff's cool, but my personal high is how we can affect people in a positive way. 100%. That's a no bullshit answer.
That's amazing. And, you know, it's like, I think people are a little more desperate to connect with people personally on things, to people that create music they like or art that they like, because we're just all so tapped in. And I'm saying this as we're on a computer talking, but so tapped into our digital world, and people want that. They crave that little bit of connection to let you know that you made something that matters to them, because they've been listening to it for how many years and they're really into it and bought that album and that shirt and they saw you here or there. And I think that's something I notice that with a younger generation a little bit. They're going out of their way to do a lot more bands are doing meet and greets or other personal situations, because they're just not as connected. You know, their conversations with their friends.
Or you can pay Gene Simmons $12,000.
I was going to say, Tim Howley,
I mean, yes,
you're not charging $12,000 to be your rep.
Yeah, that was on my mind. I heard that. I heard that on Stern the other day.
Listen, if anybody wants to be my roadie, I'll charge half price. I'll give you a 50% discount. Come talk to me. Hit me up on Instagram. We'll get to talking.
So I think, Shawn, you know, you should start charging people to do your part of the In Madness podcast. You know what I mean? I can just lean into the frame.
I was gonna say, I mean, part of the thing that like makes me so goddamn fortunate, like doing what I do for a job outside of this, is like I get to force like a meet and greet. Like, I love these bands and I love listening to their music, and I'm like, yo, I cannot wait to interview Peeling Flesh. I cannot wait to interview Fit for an Autopsy. And then I could just like hit up somebody and I'm like, yo, can I do an interview? And then it just happens, and I get to have that quick moment and be able to share like my stories and my experiences with these dudes. And like, and for the general public to have that option to be able to like talk to you guys and hang out with you guys and watch you play a unique set or like a couple of songs or whatever. Exactly, trying to make it different so you're not just shaking hands across a table. Like,
you know, we as a band, listen, everybody could do their meet and greet their own way.
Yeah, of course.
You know, and don't get me wrong, there's a lot of bands that do meet and greets that like they kind of have to, you know, do it like that, because you get some fucking weirdos, you know, like especially like, you know, bands that have, you know, any female members or anything like that.
It gets super creepy.
You know, dudes get weird about stuff like that. I mean, don't get me wrong, like, you know, there's definitely some female fans that'll get weird with guys in certain bands and stuff like that. But like, you know, I feel like it's a little bit worse for girls in bands and stuff like that. Like, you know, guys get weird. Guys get fucking weird, bro. And it's like, you know, so like, you know what? Having a table in between you, maybe the best option.
Yes.
You know.
Do you have a favorite? I have to ask, even though you might hate to admit it. Do you have a favorite Fit for an Autopsy song?
Oh, dude. Okay, so like, I got a lot.
Good.
I got a lot. Like, I feel like, yeah, man, I feel like every record has like that one track where I'm just like, that's the one, you know. Currently, you know, like on the new record, Silver Sun is one of my favorites. And it's funny because like when Will first came to us with demos and stuff like that wasn't in the demos at all. Like, that wasn't there. He wanted to write, you know, one of the last tracks, and he had an idea for it. And dude, I listened to it first go around in the car. I think it was either with Pat or Joe. And I listened to it, and like my head just exploded. I was just like, whoa, just completely floored. Right. Because it's that song. And if you notice, the last track on every Fit record is a little bit outside of the box. You know, that it's just a theme, an over looming theme that we have where the last track is a little bit softer and it resolves and so on and so forth. But it's funny because Will came to me and he's just like, hey, I want you to check out the solo in the beginning of that song. Like, I want you to like write something over it. Like, I just put something in as a placeholder. And I'm like, no. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, dude, it's perfect.
Yeah.
Like it fits. It just fits that. Like, I listened to it the first time and I'm like, why would I ever want to change that? And that's the one thing about Fit is that, a lot of people know that Will does the heavy lifting when it comes to writing, right? And there's definitely a couple people that are like, well, what do you think about this? What do you do you want more, don't you think that like you would want to write way more and stuff like that? And like, don't get me wrong, I send Will riffs. Like, I'm a riff writer, dude. I'm not a songwriter. I'm not a composer. I write riffs.
Chunks.
So I'll give you a 40-second,
Chug.
a 30-second like at the gates riff straight out of 96.
Fuck yeah.
I'll give you some like late 80s obituary shit, but you're only getting 40 seconds of it. I'm giving you a drum beat and I'm giving you guitars. Take that, run with it. That's just how I am as a guitarist. But with Will, it's just like, the dude writes such good shit. What am I going to come in and be like, nah, this sucks? No, it's fucking awesome. Like, and like, I'm a fan of my own band. I think everybody is a fan of their own band to an extent, but like, I hear this shit and I'm just like, I get to play this? Fuck yeah, I'm in, and like, there were certain things about this record, like, the one main thing that always pops into my head is like, I was sitting downstairs with Will and I had an idea for Hostage. And I'm like, hey, we're playing this throughout the chorus, or not the chorus, the pre-chorus or whatever. Why don't you dump down to the 1st fret instead of the 5th fret? Because we're just chugging on the 5th fret. If we go down to the 1st fret and we swap the vocals a little bit, it'll give it a little bit more depth. And Will's sitting there and he's recording guitar. Like, as he's tracking guitar, he's just like, and he dumps down and he's just like, oh, that's a good idea. All right, we'll keep that. And just kept going, right? So being there, and, same thing with Pat. Pat's just like, oh, why don't you do this? I'm like, why don't you do this? Why don't you do this? And it's very, very minimal stuff because most of the time that stuff is 10 out of 10. But being able to sit there and hang out and, have a little tinge on it, that's awesome.
I have to shout out Will Putney. I mean, I am enamored by the man. I mean, you want to talk about dudes acting weird around people. I kind of feel like Will's like, Shawn's okay at a long arms, because I levitate when I'm around that, because he has worked with every band I love. He has produced every Knock Loose, Acacia Strain, Vane, Fit for an Autopsy. I mean, his laundry list is insane. He's in he writes a bunch of all the music for Fit for an Autopsy. He's in the super group Better Lovers. He's in Your Fucking End. He's probably got other things that he's working on that no one even knows about. It is just the dude is brilliant, and I love that he is involved with everything that's going on with you guys and all the writing and stuff that you guys, and like you said, you like being in the room and having an opinion on something and hearing that other take on the music is definitely a great way to like help things grow and help get your 2 cents into the record.
I think that's the cool part about being in Fit. It's the fact that all of us have different music tastes and we all like different things. So the elements that we bring as musicians to that, it switches things out. It switches things up a little bit. Whereas you get a lot of bands that all the guys listen to the same shit. If everybody in a deathcore band only listens to deathcore, it's just going to be the same regurgitated bullshit that we've been hearing for the last 20 fucking years. Whereas you get guys that say, oh, well, I don't know, I like Chet Atkins, or I like, Jason Isbell, or I like, you know, Louis Capaldi, whatever it may be, you know, and then you're like, all right, well, you know, I kind of want to write a Crowbar riff. Cool. You know, done. Like, dude, one band that I've been jonesing over lately is Windhand. Like, Windhand has been, I'm all about it. But like on my rotation, like my daily rotation is Windhand, the new Great American Ghost, the new Bleed From Within tracks, and Typo. So like,
sick.
Try and fucking pin that on me, you know. Nobody can, you know, if you were to look at me, like, yeah, of course, like I look like I listen to Hank Williams Jr. every day of the week. Not my bag.
Yeah. It's always great to have a diverse take on music, which is why we love the In Madness Spotify playlist. We've also recently just added Typo Negative to the In Madness Spotify playlist when Vertebrae was singing a Christian woman at the end of our last episode.
That's awesome.
Singing, that's a liberal interpretation.
singing is that's a stretch.
Speaking the words, but I have been, Shawn, you know, because we deep dive into these movies and I'm in my full research mode for Nosferatu, and I have way more notes than I thought I would have for a film that I thought would be easier on me this time, but it's not. I also have nonstop been listening to Typo Negative. So it's just the only thing I've put on except the score from Nosferatu. And
by the way,
it's just in my head.
I know that's supposed to be next week's episode. That movie was fucking awesome.
So speaking of,
and we could talk about it.
Nosferatu. Let's get horror stuff. Okay, first thing I gotta ask: Tim Howley, guitarist of Fit for an Autopsy, fellow missioned sandwicher. What is your favorite scary movie?
Okay, all time favorite horror movie is Hellraiser.
Hey, so you saw that, right, at the Cinema Arts Center here in Long Island?
So I was actually down in Tennessee. I was in Knoxville, Tennessee, or I was just outside of Knoxville, Tennessee. I was building bikes for 2 weeks with a buddy of mine. And shout out to, you know, John and Jeff and Dave and everybody out at the V-Twin Visionary Camp. Maggie, I love them all. It's like it's like a family, like a home away from home down there. It's like when I'm not on tour, like I'm on tour with them, you know, like I'm living in a trailer, you know, setting up motorcycle tents and like setting up product every day. It's hilarious. It's literally like being on tour. But I was down there building my new Lowrider ST, and a buddy of mine, my buddy Shawn, who, shout out to him, he actually works on American Dad, which is very funny. He originally from Long Island, moved out to California, and we recently reconnected. Like, you know, we kept in touch, but we got lunch, hung out for like 3.5 hours. It was insane. Best dude. And he was explaining to me, he's like, yeah, man, like, you know that they're re-releasing Hellraiser for the anniversary. And I was like, well, it's technically not the 40th, you know, but I guess they're doing it. They're calling it the 40th anniversary or whatever, even though it's like the 38th. It's so
sounds
weird.
like the In Madness numbering system.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay. So yeah, so it was kind of cool, I guess. A bunch of theaters are putting out older movies where it's like it's one showing a day. But yeah, it was the first time. I mean, I've seen that movie dozens of times, literally dozens of times, and seeing that in the theater was just mint.
That was your first time seeing it in theater?
In theater,
yeah.
Sick. I mean, I've seen it on massive screen televisions. Theater is just, it's different. I had a smile ear to ear the entire time.
Do you remember what your gateway into horror was, where it all began for you?
I do. It's kind of funny, man. It's really funny. So I was never into horror movies when I was a kid. It wasn't my thing. I loved comedy movies, loved, you know, stuff like that. loved action movies. But when I was, I want to say 16, 17, right? I finally had like my own, my own room, which, I won't get into, pre 16, 17, Tim life. Cause that shit, let's just say I was poor as a motherfucker, like broker than broke. People don't understand how broke I was. But when I finally had my own bedroom, I got a TV and I got my own cable box. And back in 2005, 2006, Monsters HD was a channel that we had on Optimum. And dude, it was nonstop horror movies and horror TV shows every hour of the day. It was like HBO, but it just constantly ran horror movies.
Awesome.
And it was just, dude, it was perfect. It was literally perfect. There were days where like, and I remember tuning in and being like, oh, like this is this movie, or this is this, and it would be like Friday the 13th part 4, or this is Friday the 13th part 8, or the Phantasm 2, or like whatever it may be. And I'm just watching all these movies, and it was so sick because I would come home from high school and I would just pop that on. I'd sit on my laptop and I would just watch whatever was on. So I was watching 24-hour horror movies just every day from the time I was like 17 until they closed the channel in 2008, 2009. It was like 3 years of just nonstop movies.
That's very traumatizing, it sounds like.
Oh, it was awesome.
Can we, Shawn, can I run through a couple of films that are
Go
important
ahead.
to us
Go ahead
on this podcast and get your thoughts on these, Tim?
Okay.
So Halloween, the original Halloween.
Original. Okay. Love it or like it, don't love it. Like I'm not a Michael guy. Mm-hmm. Like I think I like it because like that, like, yeah, it's a horror movie, it's a slasher movie, but like that suspense aspect of it, when I first saw it, I was like, okay, this is sick. But the story didn't grab me as hard as a lot of other movies of that era. Like the movies, the slasher movies that came after that were way more corny and cheesy and like more ridiculous. That's my bag. So I like it, but it's not like, oh my God, it's my favorite.
Right. The Thing.
I've never seen it.
Oh, Tim, listen, man, I'm telling you.
I know.
If you're on the tour and you got 2 hours of just nothing to do.
So I use a productivity planner. I'm literally going to write it down just because.
I do Post-it notes. I got Post-it notes everywhere.
You watch that movie. When you're done your tour, you come back and we'll have a huge conversation about The Thing.
Deal.
For sure. The Mist. Have you seen The Mist?
I have seen The Mist. I like it. I feel like a lot of the movies in the mid 2000s, like I feel like a lot of those movies were good, and then you get to the ending and you're just like ruined.
You didn't like the Mist ending.
What?
You didn't like the Mist ending.
I did not.
Whoa.
I'm like,
whoa.
I mean, I get it. It sucks. Like I liked it, but it's just for me, it's
Shawn's,
just,
Shawn's equal parts excited at this interview and really, really depressed.
Oh, right, that's crazy. It is one of my favorite endings of all time in a movie.
Of all time.
Listen, you know what? Don't yuck my yum.
Of course. Yeah. No, of course. No, I've just never heard that take before, Tim Howley. I think you're the first person I've heard say that before.
All right, let's go. You ready? Alien.
Oh,
okay. Man. I think on my Letterboxd account, Alien scored a 9.5, something like that. Oh, no, because Letterboxd is at a 5, so technically it's a 9. Dude, if I gave it I would give it a 9.5. It's a near perfect movie for me.
Yeah.
I think Alien and Aliens both for me, just fucking awesome. I think, you know, for the year that it came out and for, you know, the artwork and for what they did, I that movie was fucking amazing. Absolutely amazing. And speaking of the Alien series, Romulus was fucking amazing.
Okay.
Dude.
So we recently covered Alien Romulus, and we kind of tore it apart a little bit, actually. Yeah. We were.
I get it.
Yeah,
I understand why.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, it was fan justice.
There were parts we liked 100%, but
absolutely.
there were parts we also disliked. But I mean, that's everything.
Of course,
that's everything.
But like, dude, you can't tell me.
Oh, I will.
that-
I'm gonna.
You can't tell me that the slime floating midair and her going through it wasn't sick. It was awesome.
We said it was very video game like.
100%. 100%.
Which is nothing. That's still cool, and I would still like to do that in a video game. They don't do that in what's Alien Isolation that I recently played. They don't do that,
so
but
now,
they should.
Now, real quick, hold on. Let's talk about this real quick, right? So, in 2008 or 9, right? I was at a comic book store in Raleigh, North Carolina, and this old man was like, "What do you guys think about the new Marvel movies?" Now, this is Marvel. This is first wave of like Captain America and this and that and this and that and Thor and all those movies. And I was like, honestly, man, I kind of like them. Like they're kind of cool. And the dude's like, I love them. And I was like, really? Like, he's an older dude. And I'm like, why? He's like, because when I sit down and I go to those movies with my grandkids, it transports me back to my childhood. Right. So watching Alien Romulus brings me back to my teenage years of watching Alien and Aliens for the first time and being like, this is amazing, So being a fan of that, I mean, listen, I'm not expecting Shawshank Redemption, esque fucking dialogue. I'm not going into seeing an Alien movie thinking that this is going to get a fucking Academy Award. Like, come on, let's be real.
Vertebrae does a great Morgan Freeman,
but
not on the spot like that. Sean. Natural, it's gotta be natural. But yeah, I agree. I certainly think, and I think part of it for me was Alien did a lot of that so well already, but I totally got, and I said this to Sean, why you need to do this for this generation. And now they have kicked off a new franchise, and I'm excited to see where they go with it, right? Because once you can sort of shed that skin of, okay, we've done it. I just think they were over heavy-handed and concerned with a fan base that they wanted to appease, bringing back characters and stuff. And I think that was when they got original and when they did their own thing was when I was like, okay, this is like for us, Prey, which I think is a fantastic movie, takes Predator and does its own thing with it, right? There's still those moments where there are things back to it, but that is a beautiful film, right?
So I think, and I will say, the cool part about movies nowadays is like, yes, pulling from a franchise, that happened 30, 40, 50 years ago. I think, it gets old. But I think a fresh take on movies like that, like, okay, say for example, I didn't think that the new Crow was too bad.
Wow, look at Devil's Advocate Tim Howley on our episode of It Madness.
Because let's and that's the thing. Like I think last year I watched like 60 movies, right? Like I watched a lot of fucking movies last year, for me at least. And dude, I think people are so worried about others ruining their childhood, right? And I think that they're like, listen, man, if you don't want to watch the movie, don't watch the movie, right? But I think the fact that it's reaching a new audience and stuff like that, I think it's kind of cool, because then what that does is that turns around and brings people back to the original so that they can see what the original is.
Right.
When that movie came out in the fucking 90s, nobody gave a shit because it wasn't a fucking... I think it's a good movie. I think that The Crow's fucking amazing. But, like, again, not a cinematic masterpiece. I'm not looking for Academy Award winning performances over here. Do I think it was fucking awesome and it's a cult classic? Absolutely. But, like, you know, I don't know. I think people cherish their childhood and nostalgia too much.
Tim Howley's breaking through to my core. I was not ready to have a therapy session this late at night.
I love it, Shawn. And you know, we've talked about this because Shawn, you know, will saddle me.
I hold on way too.
Will saddle me with some movies that he's, you know, really, really in love with. And
Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Oh, dude, love that movie.
And what happens is it's when something hits you and the way it hits you, and that moment is what matters to you. So you could have a movie that has like corny bits in it or stuff that other people doesn't like, but you remember going to see that movie on a Saturday afternoon with your friends and you were all drawn into it and you talked about it afterwards, and you cannot take that away from anybody. I never want people to recreate it. Like, I'm okay with them blowing it out of the water. I'm 100% fine with they want to go in a completely different direction. I don't need you to appease me as a fan of that product at all.
Yeah.
But Shawn and I noticed two things. One, on this podcast, we use what we call we have a half a brain, and we share half a brain, and we use it 100% of that half a brain. So we're doing okay. But what it is once we put it under the In Madness microscope and I watch it 3-4 times in a row and I'm looking for other things, some of these things that I was really in love with, right after you start pulling them apart, you're like, I love that scene, but that scene's not that great. But does it matter? No, you enjoyed it. You enjoyed the art either way.
Here's the problem with that, though. Watching a movie multiple times to dissect it is not how a movie's supposed to be watched in the first place.
Agreed. But don't kill our whole time podcast, Tim.
No, I'm not. But, like, listen, man, I love Oreos.
Yeah.
But I'm not eating 4 fucking boxes.
Yeah.
After a certain amount of time, I'm like, all right, like, I enjoyed these, but, like, enough's enough.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I don't know, man. I think with movies, I think people, to be completely honest, I think people bullshit a lot. I think people say they don't like something, or they fucking, this movie, fuck, just because they want to be different.
Fit in. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know,
fit in with the hater crowd. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, going back to The Crow, like, dude, it really wasn't that fucking bad. Like, was it, like I said, was it a fucking masterpiece? Absolutely fucking not. Were the fight scenes awesome? Fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah, probably.
Like, they were some of the most gory. This is one of the most ridiculous, gory fucking things ever. And dude, that's how the comic book was. So the dude that made that movie, if he's going off of that, like, that's way different, you know? Don't get me wrong. There's definitely movies that I've seen in the last fucking 10 years that were terrible, you know? Like, fucking, what's the part 8 of Star Wars where fucking Luke dies? That movie
Force
sucks.
Awakens?
Vertebrae?
Yeah. No, is Force Awakens the first one?
Yeah, so it's Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, and then Rise of Skywalker.
Vertebrae is riding the Star Wars. You talking Vertebrae about the Star Wars thing.
So The Last Jedi.
Last Jedi. Yeah. So this the second of the last trilogy.
Yeah, that's the poster I have up over my shoulder.
I fucking hated it. But, like, but here's the problem, right?
I love it.
So now that I love the first one, like episode 7, loved it.
Yeah.
Episode 9, I loved it. 8, I thought it was dog shit.
I love it.
But
I love this. This is great.
But but that's opinions. The reason why I don't like it, the dude that wrote it, not a Star Wars guy. Don't get me wrong. fan service and stuff like that. I get it. But like, dude, what are you doing?
So I think for me, as a gigantic Star Wars fan, Rian Johnson's take was something that upset a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I guess where I was okay with it is because it did uproot things, and I had already seen these things enough. And so like I was like, okay. And I think then the problem is you have, J.J. Abrams come back and he uproots what he just did because there wasn't kind of like a plan in place. And then so it really stands out as not kind of making sense anymore. Like they sort of were almost combating with each other for a cohesive. And I think what they've done with, say, like series like Andor or Mandalorian is have just one showrunner or one person who's in charge of this vision. And we always get something better when we have, a dominant creator in charge of that vision, for sure. I'm going to give you two more movies. One, not a horror movie, but Sean's love of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
We just covered Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and the 1990.
Awesome. Yeah. Oh, dude, awesome movie. Go Ninja,
there you
go
Sean.
Go.
Yeah,
I had to make Sean happy again because he's
great movie.
Yeah,
this ending,
dude. Those movies are great.
And the last one we always ask is The Exorcist.
Okay, I haven't seen Exorcist in a long time. The last time I watched it full through was probably 2005.
Wow,
right? It's been a long time. I like The Exorcist, not one of my go-tos, but I will say I do love all the bullshit that came with the movie. I think the people dying and the nonsense and the weirdness that surrounds that movie is just unmatched. So I think culturally, I think it's such a staple,
Right.
I think that's one of those movies where it's like, and for what it did to the horror genre, to perpetuate, all of these other movies and all these crazy possession movies and, the franchise that it built. And I think it deserves its place high up in the Hall of Fame.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was dropped Christmas Day.
Yeah, we covered that last Christmas. Wow. They released the movie Christmas Day, and then we actually covered it last year on Christmas.
So wild.
Yeah. It was a hell of a time in the Shawn the Butcher household with the presents out and the tree up and Reagan smashing herself in the vagina with a crucifix.
Dude, that movie, that and to write that and to think about that back then, I mean,
total blasphemy. Man. Totally.
And an incredible book, by the way, too. The book is absolutely incredible.
So
I have a picture of me in front of the stairs down in DC.
Sick.
Oh, nice.
We'll have to post that on the In Madness socials. We'll make you dig that back up. Yeah.
By the way, big stairs guy also got a picture in front of the John Wick stairs from John Wick 4 in Paris.
Tim Howley. Big stairs guy.
Big stairs guy. Not for walking. I'll tell you that. Not for walking up them motherfuckers.
I'll take a picture of that bitch. Yeah.
Dude, let me tell you. I started walking up, and about 4 flights up, I started to regret my decision. Dude, I don't know when the next time you're going to be in Paris is, but dude, it was rough. The stairs leading up to Sacré-Cœur is insane.
Too much. Now you'd be like Ace Ventura doing the slinky down the Tibetan stairs.
Dude, yeah. It's one of those. It's one of those things where, I'll tell you this: watching that scene, you don't realize how many stairs are actually there until you get there, and you're like, oh, this is a half a mile up.
Too much.
Oh, dude, I think it's I don't know, it's 400 and something stairs or some shit.
I'm getting exhausted thinking about it.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
But speaking of The Exorcist, I did want to talk about one last movie with you, which is the entire reason I feel like I have brought you on this podcast, because as it came out this past Christmas, all I have seen is the debating and the back and the forth and the who likes it and who does it or whatever. And I still, till this moment, don't know what Vertebrae's take on the movie is because we have not recorded our episode for it yet. However, all I did see on the socials was my man Tim Howley posting about how much he loved this goddamn Nosferatu movie. And I feel like there is heavy Exorcist influence in this movie, to the point where I feel like some of it was peeled like right out of it. But Tim, yeah, please tell me everything you loved about Nosferatu, please.
Okay. Well, let's start off by saying big Robert Eggers guy.
Hallelujah. We have found our common place.
Big Robert Eggers guy.
Yeah.
When it
Lighthouse,
comes to
Witch. Yeah.
I mean, what's funny is I've never seen The Lighthouse. Still to this day, I haven't seen it.
You should.
Which
All
it's
right.
on my list.
Yeah.
But
add it to your book. What do you got? Your book there?
my
for
yeah.
The Lighthouse. That's your homework. Add that to your homework list. That movie's incredible.
Bizarre. It's a little more bizarre than The Witch, and it's a little more bizarre than Nosferatu, but it's like it's just smothered in Eggers, and it's just beautiful.
And Lovecraft, and then you can listen to us talk about it, and you can learn all about the Fresnel lens that I taught Shawn about.
Sick.
Yeah.
Dude, The Northman also fantastic movie. But okay, Nosferatu, right? Now, I feel like a lot of people they're comparing it so much with Bram Stoker's Dracula from the 90s. Again, it's like The Crow. It's the same argument, right? Yes, you can compare it, but like you're trying to protect the nostalgia of the movie, and that you're trying to protect your childhood or your golden years, or the memory of watching that movie or whatever it may be, right? So first off, obviously Nosferatu is a copy of a copy, right? It is a new age adaptation to the 1922 movie that was a rip from Bram Stoker's original book, right? So all of the different things with Orlok and like all that stuff, like it's just, I think Robert Eggers did it proper justice. There's definitely a couple things about it that I didn't like. That's why it wasn't a 10. I think I gave it an 8.5 or an 8.2 or something like that. I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. I think cinematography was through the roof.
Beautiful.
It was gorgeous.
It looks like a painting for half the movie.
Exactly. I think the one thing, and this is the one thing that I said, I wish his adaptation and his take on it showed Orlok less. The original, obviously you see him signing the papers and doing stuff like that, but I wish that the reveal was like way worse, and obviously, he looked fucking terrifying. I love the mustache. Fuck everybody.
Look at Tim Howley. Tim Howley's a mustache man.
Big mustache guy. I think the look that they went for him was very of the time, and that's what I enjoyed. I think Nicholas Hoult was fantastic. Aaron Taylor-Joy, take him or leave him in that movie, at least. I think he's a phenomenal actor. I think he's a very, very good actor. I love him in a lot of shit. That movie in particular, I was kind of on the fence about. But overall, dude, I think that movie was fucking awesome. Not the best movie I saw last year, not the best horror movie I saw last year, but I do think that they did a really, really good job with the movie.
Yeah, fantastic score, beautifully shot. I mean, Eggers films
yeah.
the scores are always amazing. They're always beautifully
Perfect.
shot. Obviously, we'll get into it when we deep dive into it, Shawn. But one of the things when I look at this stuff, it's like I, I started looking at like I watched the 1922, and then I'm like, oh, there was Shadow of the Vampire, which was like the pseudo making of
Is it
where
79
William Dafoe
or
played
something? Yeah.
Warlock.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
In
yeah,
that movie,
exactly.
that came out in like 2000 something, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Like
Sorry. What's the one that they made in 77 or 79? There was
oh
another
yeah, I don't
one.
remember the name on that, but I'll have to look that up. I'll add that to my bits
Yeah,
when
there
when
was
we talk
another
about the film.
Nosferatu that they made in the 70s, late 70s, I think.
But the Shadow of Vampire is about a pseudo making of that movie where things go weird, and the actor who's playing where Max Schreck is sort of getting too into the character or whatever the case is. So, but it's just crazy that Defoe's in that,
Yeah.
and we'll get into all this movie, Shawn. We did like 2 episodes of deep diving, but
of course. I mean, I
I
just have to say Defoe is like if he doesn't steal the show from Orlock, it's pretty damn
Yeah.
close.
it's
I mean,
pretty
dude,
close.
Yeah.
It's pretty close.
he's always perfect in almost everything that he does.
You
You
will
know?
love him in Lighthouse. He is
Yeah.
Yes.
spectacular. in
You know,
Lighthouse.
it's so crazy. Like I've seen him in a lot of stuff. I've seen him in a lot of movies, a lot of weird movies too, which I won't name because I don't want anybody to see what I saw in that movie with Willem Dafoe. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about, but we'll talk about it later.
I don't think so.
But I mean, dude, even in the last Spider-Man movie, No Way Home, dude, he stole the show. Like, you know, that dude, 10 out of 10 acting. The dude's awesome, you know.
What was your favorite horror movie you saw last year?
Oddity.
Oddity.
Have you ever seen it?
If I know of
Oh,
Oddity. No.
Okay. Woman gets murdered.
Mm.
Her sister tries to piece it together about who murdered her sister, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, the sister that's still alive is blind,
Mm-hmm.
but she's clairvoyant and she owns an oddities shop. And, you know, she is one of those people that's just like, like, you know, touching a personal item, I can get a vibe and I can, you know, kind of see things. Trust me. The first there's a couple scenes. There's a couple scenes that like that I'm just like, oh fuck. And it's you know, again, like the original Halloween, I feel like this movie's a little bit more suspense based. It's not like a hack 'em up slasher like, you know, the Friday the 13th that I love and stuff like that. But it's one of those movies where you see it and you're like, oh, this is refreshing. You know, it's not, I mean, you know, low budget, you know, it's not this insane, you know, listen, it's not a Substance budget. The Substance, though.
Oh, did you see The Substance?
Up here for me, bro.
Yeah, what's your rating on The Substance?
I think I gave it a 9. I think I gave it like an 8 or a 9 or something like that.
I love your rating system.
Well, yeah, because everything's rated on Letterboxd.
I don't have I need to get myself a Letterboxd.
You don't have a Letterboxd account? What are you doing,
bro?
Nah. Let me look real quick. Let's see.
Substance was so good, Vertebrae. You didn't see Substance yet, right?
I haven't seen it yet, and I want to see Oddity as well. So it's just
I'm
to,
writing
like,
down Oddity
stuff, right?
on my list.
Was that a Shudder film or was it just on Shudder? Maybe it was out in the
I
theater.
think it's just on Shudder.
Okay.
So last year, yeah. So I gave Alien Romulus, Oddity. Oh no. So I gave that. I gave Substance a 7. I gave Oddity a 9.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And what was Nosferatu?
Nosferatu was a 7.5.
Yeah, I was so stoked for Nosferatu because last year I wanted to like so many movies that I went to see, and I didn't feel like I loved them as much as I did, but I kept my expectations high for Nosferatu, and I went to see it on Christmas, which was gnarly. Because I've never been to a movie theater on Christmas before, but it was so like, I just thought I had to pee the whole movie. I always have to pee. And like, I was like, if nothing happens for 5 minutes, I will get up and take a leak. And every 5 minutes I was like, oh, that's cool. Oh, that's cool. And then I'm just like sitting in my seat and I'm just like, damn. And I'm like, I held it as long as I possibly could. I mean, I'll just say it now. I frigging loved that movie. It was so,
the movie was awesome.
Yeah. It
Now,
was everything I wanted it out of it.
Question. Did you guys see, I'm going to name 2 movies.
Yes, please.
Did you guys see Longlegs?
Yes. I
have not seen Longlegs. It's on my list. The problem is I end up watching these movies for the podcast like 3 and 4 times. So if I'm on a movie, I'm only on that movie for like a couple weeks. So we're supposed to watch Longlegs because Shawn had some takes on it.
Yes,
and
I have
so
takes
I want
on it.
to. And Shawn has takes. So
I also had takes on it.
Yes.
I'm curious to listen to what your takes are on it, and whenever you guys get to that.
I enjoyed half of the movie. I'll say that much.
Okay. I'm in the same boat.
Yes.
But if it wasn't for the and I know you and I are probably on the same page. If it wasn't for the aspect of the movie towards the end, there would be no movie. And that's the term. Like, I've come to terms with, if there was no supernatural aspect, the whole plot is gone. Right? So there needs to be that.
I mean, I suppose. I mean,
that's literally.
Well, no, you're right. No, you're right. You're right. And I dug that in the first half of the movie while it was happening.
Yeah.
At the turn that it took, I was like, meh. But also, like, there's, like, I love Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
To a degree.
Oh, I agree. I'm in the same boat.
There definitely comes a point where I'm like, I have had enough of this chicanery. And there were parts of Longlegs was a movie last year that I was like, my expectations were through the roof, and I left the theater and I was like, so I was expecting like the same thing for Nosferatu, and I'm glad it did that.
No,
way.
What
was your other one?
Actually, I have 2 more technically.
Yes.
Sorry. The other one being Heretic.
My finger was hovering over the play button
on Max
last night on HBO Max, and I was like, if I start this now, then my curfew gets pushed further back than I need it to. So it is on the list. I think this weekend is Heretic weekend.
Okay. That's a lights out movie.
Okay.
It's a lights out movie.
Good.
That movie, definitely. That movie was awesome. Hugh Grant carried that movie for sure. He was perfect. Awesome movie.
I can't wait. Yeah, now you're hyping it up for me. Now you're hyping it up for me, definitely.
Also, Strange Darling.
Don't even know it. That was from last year.
Dude.
Where do you find these movies? Where do you get hip to all these movies from?
Brother, I watch a lot of movies.
I mean, I follow Bloody Disgusting and shit on the social.
See, Shawn, this is the time you have when you don't have to watch the same movie 3 times in a row. You could have watched 2 other films during that.
Well, and that's the thing.
Period of time.
Even when we're reviewing for our In Madness movies, like, I kind of do watch a movie in between, completely separate, just as like a palate. Really? Yeah, I just as like a palate cleanser to like get out of the headspace of watching the same movie.
I'll add it to the list, but we'll add Oddity. Maybe we'll do Oddity on the podcast, Shawn.
Yeah, I'm gonna check out this new one.
Yeah, Oddity sick, but yeah, dude, Strange Darling is it's more of a horror thriller.
Okay.
But dude, it is okay. Concept of the movie, right? It's a horror movie in 6 chapters.
Okay.
You start on chapter 3.
So it's like a Tarantino thing. Yeah.
Where like it jumps.
Wow.
And like, dude, it is. I'll tell you this. I got halfway through the movie and I was just like, this is kind of weird.
Okay.
And then you get to like, I forget what chapter it was. You get to a certain chapter and you're like, oh, fuck. This went from like a 5 to an 8 like that. When you realize, you're like,
here on the podcast, we call that the milking of the alpacas moment. Yeah.
Oh, dude, you're like, what the fuck? Great. But
you want to explain that, Shawn?
So have you ever seen The Color Out of Space, Tim Howley?
No.
It features Nick Cage in a better role of his.
One of the best straight Lovecraft adaptions of all time.
Okay, what is it called?
Color Out of Space. It is on
incredible
Shudder.
Score too. That score is Colin Stetson, I think is the score, maybe if I remember correctly. But incredible score. But in that film, Shawn, what happened? This is where we got our moment.
There's just like a moment where like the whole dynamic changes, and like there's this like big asteroid in the front yard, and everyone's freaking out, and the cops are there. But for some reason, like Nick Cage owns alpacas because it was like some business decision he made, and he's like, it's time that we, despite all the things that are happening in the media in their front yard, he's like, we have to go milk the alpacas, and like everything just switches, and it's like, what the hell is going on here? And that's we coin every turn, everything, like in Barbarian when the chick smashes the dude's head against the wall. That's our milking of the alpacas.
Yeah, because the rest of the movie after that sucks.
No, don't say this, Tim Howley.
Listen.
He's killing you, Shawn.
I love Barbarian.
No, fuck you and fuck Justin Long too.
Justin Long was hilarious.
No, okay. I do not want comic relief in a good horror movie.
I feel you.
That movie, up until that point, was fucking awesome. And then that dickhead had to come on and like, dude, it was such a bummer because like then like he gets left behind and then she's outside and like it resumed, like everything was fucking awesome. Like I think everything, man, like I just wish, listen, don't get me wrong, I love him in other shit.
Yeah.
I think he's great in other things. That movie in particular, he ruined that movie. That movie for me would have been like a solid fucking 7.5, 8. Fucking 6.
Justin Long killed it. Wow.
Fucking 6. Yeah, because Skarsgård was so good at being a fucking
You think
weirdo.
It's him. You think it's him.
You always think it's him. You know,
Uh-huh.
and then it turns out to be some 9-foot mongoloid in the in the basement. Like, what the fuck? She's like this weird monster thing. Like, you're like, oh, okay, like that's fucking crazy. That's cool. You know, and it's
so Tim, while you're shattering all of Shawn's hopes and dreams,
he loves the movies that I fucking
his favorite Christmas movie is Krampus. Where do you stand on Krampus?
I don't think I've ever seen Krampus.
No, I think my favorite Christmas movie is Die Hard.
Is it? Okay.
Nah. Christmas movie?
Yeah.
Prometheus.
I don't know. I don't know if I have a favorite Christmas. I mean, my favorite like actual Christmas movie is probably Home Alone 2.
Sweet. Good one. New York.
Yeah. Oh, New York, it's home. But yeah, I would have to think about like movies that are like Christmas adjacent. That wouldn't necessarily be like a Christmas movie. Didn't somebody say that Nosferatu was a Christmas movie or something?
That is a question I will pose in our next episode. Yes, 100%. It is already guaranteed. I'm saying,
yeah, like
freaking lootly. It came out.
It was released on Christmas. There's snow in the movie. There's
there's a literal Christmas tree with ornaments in the background.
That's what I'm saying.
100% a Christmas.
That's what I'm saying.
There is one in Prometheus as well, Shawn. They're decorating a Christmas tree in Prometheus as well.
Yeah, I would have to look up like Christmas adjacent movies.
I don't think Tim Howley would like Krampus because there's a lot of comedy in Krampus.
See, I like comedy in movies like that. Oh, you know what? Violent Night.
Yes, with the dude from Stranger Things, right?
David Harbour.
Yeah.
That would probably be my favorite.
Okay.
Ridiculous. Also, Gremlins.
That was our second episode of In Madness Pod. We covered Gremlins. Yeah.
Yes.
Gremlins is a Christmas movie.
Yes.
Of course.
100%.
And let's go for the complete obliteration of Shawn, a film we did on the podcast. You may have not seen it, and I destroyed the logic of it to shreds.
Oh,
Lucy. Have you ever seen the film Lucy with Scarlett Johansson?
No.
great flick.
Is that the one where she like takes the drugs and turns into a fucking?
She uses 100% of her brain and gets superpowers.
Yeah. I think I've seen bits and pieces of it where she like just turns into a computer.
Yeah. That's the ending.
And I'm just like,
everything leading up to that point is awesome.
yeah. But I mean, here's the thing though. Like when you look at my list of favorite movies, like I said, I'm not looking at movies because of, they're the most cinematically brilliant movie. Like I'm not looking at stuff like that. A good movie for me is like, does it keep me interested? Is it something that like makes me look at the movie and be like, wow, this is a cool, fresh idea. Even if it's not a fresh idea, was it done well? Stuff like that. I mean, dude, one of my favorite horror movies of all time, it's not technically a horror movie. It's more of like a suspense thriller. I don't know if you guys watch a lot of foreign flicks, but I Saw the Devil. I Saw the Devil was a Korean revenge movie.
Yeah, I definitely
with the dude from Old Boy.
Yes.
And dude, that movie, it's a little bit long. I think it's like 2.5 hours, 2 hours, 45 minutes, something like that. But like, dude, it's a the first 20 minutes happens and sets up the rest of the movie. And then it's like a 2.5 hour catch and release torture film, which the guy doing the torture is technically the good guy. So like, it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Have you guys ever seen House of the Devil?
I
have not.
Honestly, I can't even remember. I can't even remember if I have.
See, this is simultaneously educational for all of us.
Yeah. No, because I know I've seen these movies, but I've seen them like so long ago. I can't remember.
I gotta make you guys a list. House of the Devil. You guys know who Thomas Noonan is?
I have to look him up.
He's the axe murderer from Last Action Hero.
Oh, cool.
He also played Francis Dollarhide in Manhunter, which was the original version of Red Dragon in the Hannibal Lecter series.
Okay.
Right. So Thomas Noonan plays a dude. They're looking for a babysitter. And this girl's like, I need money, so on and so forth. It's set in the 80s. It's filmed. It came out, I think it came out in 2009. It was filmed on the same cameras that they filmed back in the 80s. Dude, this movie is like, I don't know, hour and a half, 2 hours of just pure suspense. Like it's a girl walking through a quiet house being like, why the fuck am I here by myself type shit.
I gotta see this. Yeah, I don't know if I saw that.
Dude, it is so good.
Yeah, we'll get the Tim Howley list. We'll post that on the In Madness social.
Yeah, dude,
that'd be great. Absolutely.
I'll get a list together of like my top.
Hell yeah.
Like my top 10 or top 20 that you guys can be like.
We got to educate the audience. Also, the dude from Old Boy was also the bad guy in Lucy, and I nominated him for the In Madness Villain Hall of Fame because he is like horrifyingly scary.
Dude, the older dude, like he's kind of chubby.
So I know it's I can't remember which dude it was, but
I think so.
Yeah, it's the main dude in Old Boy. I know he's also in I Saw the Devil. I don't know if he's the
Yes.
main dude.
Choi Min-sik.
I think so.
Choi Min-sik. Yeah, that's the dude from Old Boy and House of yeah. Oh, sorry, not House of the Devil. I Saw the Devil.
Yeah.
Same dude. If you liked him in Lucy and you're like, yo, he's a good villain in that movie.
Yeah.
I Saw the Devil, bro.
And I think I saw that during the pandemic. There was a pandemic period where I watched like 1,000 movies, and I can't like it just differentiating them.
Yeah.
Once they come on. But as we wrap, is there anything you need to promote, Tim Howley? Anything you got coming up? And besides, we got the Fit for an Autopsy headlining tour starting in beginning of April, right?
Bro, I wish we were headlining. Arch Enemy is headlining.
Oh, Arch Enemy is headlining. Oh,
they're way bigger than us.
See that? Okay, Fit for an. So you're direct support.
Yeah. So it's us and Arch Enemy going out with Beast.
Oh, BAEST. Yeah.
And Thrown into Exile.
Sick.
So we're doing that. We're playing Sonic Temple. We're playing Welcome to Rockville and Daytona. Then we're going to Europe. We're doing all the bigger Europe festivals in June. So if you want to come out, support us on that run, more than welcome. I guess also follow me on the gram. I am Tim Howley. Follow all my motorcycle stuff at Tombstone Hardware, and then all the leather stuff at South Shore Leatherworks.
And pick up the Tim Howley sandwich.
Yes.
And mission sandwich. Yeah.
Go get a little taste of that.
Dude, thank you for sharing your time with us. Thank you for sharing your insights and your stories and your horror movie recommendations. We're going to post so much stuff on the socials. Make sure you check out Fit for an Autopsy. Make sure you check out everything Tim has going on. You can reach out to us if we can also include Tim on everything at In Madness Pod on the socials. If you want to email us about this episode or any of our previous episodes, inmadnesspod@gmail.com. If you have a question for Tim, you could pose it in the email and we could pose it to him, and then we can get an answer in a separate episode. Check us out on YouTube. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, give us the 5-star reviews. Check out the In Madness Spotify playlist, which I am now adding some music from Fit for an Autopsy to Tim Howley's favorite song from them. Happy In Madness Monday. If that's when you're listening, tell everybody you know about this show. Spread the madness worldwide. We want the tentacles wrapped around the world. Everybody listening to this show all over the place. So when Tim Howley's touring in India, they could be like, yo, I heard you on In Madness Pod. I fucking love Nosferatu. Get your shirt. We're going to send Tim Howley a shirt. InMadness.com. You can also get yourself a mug for your morning coffee. InMadness.com. And Tim Howley, dude, you fucking rock. Love you, man.
Appreciate it, man.
I'm looking forward to hanging out more often, doing more cool stuff. Come down to your place down south. We'll ride bikes and do all sorts of cool shit.
I'm in.
Yeah. And this is episode, I think, 40.75, and we will see you next week. For spoiler alert, we already know what our next movie is. What I think is great. I still don't know Vertebrae's thoughts on it. I'm looking forward to 2 full weeks of Nosferatu on next week's episode. Tim Howley, thank you very much, dude.
Amen, boys. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Hell yeah, this is In Madness Pod.